afternoon, everyone. Please get your food, your desserts, and get seated. Morning, we had such a compelling set of presentations, starting with Umesh at Unifor, to Manish Chandra, to 2 or 3 eminent panels as well. And now this afternoon, we're going to talk about more than AI. We're going to talk about the human brain. I guess all this intelligence came out of our brain, right? So let's go back to the source and look at the brain itself. So to do that, who better than our Founder Circle member from India, who doesn't need much of an introduction. He was one of the founders of Infosys. He was then the CEO of the company, and now is a philanthropist and also a big investor in startups and an all-around good person who is here all the way from Bangalore just to talk to us about this very deep subject. So please welcome Kris Gopalakrishnan, or Kris G.
Thank you, MR. Can you hear me? Okay. Thank you, MR, and thank you all for giving me this opportunity to share my thoughts with you. It's titled Brain Research and AI. I'm going to start with AI because this event is all about AI, and then I'll go to brain research. But my perspective on AI is probably going to be a historical perspective. Historical in the sense that evolutionary perspective. Because if you look at evolution, you will understand where we are and how we got here and how we will go forward from here, I believe. And that's the reason why I take an evolutionary perspective, or I take a historical perspective on important technologies, important breakthroughs, etc. And AI, of course, is an important breakthrough. So I will give my perspective. I just want to, this slide is there because I'm associated with so many organizations, and I want to make it very clear, and it's being recorded, very clear that these are my personal thoughts, ideas, etc. It does not represent any organization I'm associated with. These are my thoughts, okay? And I will start with something that everybody will easily associate with, which is the evolution of transportation. And the picture on the right side is generated by by Copilot. I said, give me a picture which represents evolution of transportation. It gave me that picture. I hope I'm not violating somebody's copyright. I just took it. But the interesting thing about this is human beings always have looked at augmenting their capabilities. Augmenting their capabilities has been kind of part of our DNA and a part of who we are. And when we augment human capabilities, we look at nature and wonder why nature does, how nature does, and then we try to replicate it a bit, but we never replicate it identical with what nature does. So no flapping wings, we said fixed wings, right? And we throw the power of machinery, power of anything that we can get at to solve the problem much better than nature. So what happens? We invented wheels, we invented steam engine, we invented electric power, and so on. Internal combustion engines, polluted ourselves to death, regretted all that. So we then figure out. But the beauty of nature is, nature always is optimized perfectly. There is no, if you look at nature, there's no waste. Waste of one entity is actually consumed by another entity. It's all perfectly aligned, and that's the beauty of nature, actually. But we just want to get the solution, and we will do anything to get the solution done. And we waste stuff a lot. We waste stuff a lot. Okay, so I won't go into details, but you can see, and this is unending. Right? This pursuit for excellence, pursuit for solution is for ongoing thing. Somebody now will say, can I do something better than rockets and things like that? Can I look at teleportation. We always wonder and push the limits, and this is the history of humankind. This is the history of evolution of technology. This is how we progress. Last thing I want to say here is it'll come back to me. So the reason I gave this example is then we move to super intelligence, right? There was question about artificial super intelligence, artificial general intelligence, etc. So, whether it's exactly same as human intelligence, that's a question philosophers will answer. What is intelligence? Somebody else will answer. We try to, just like in the example of transportation, we are trying to mimic nature and mimic human beings and human intelligence. And we will do it in our own way. Whether brain works that way, that we'll come back to later. Okay? We will do it in our own way. And we have done it. Can any human being do billion calculations in a second? Machine does that. Can anybody remember all the phone numbers in the world? Machine does that. Right? So we have far exceeded human capabilities in very narrowly defined capabilities, quote unquote, intelligent capabilities. And we'll continue to do this. I firmly believe that. And one of the new things, of course, is inference or pattern recognition and things like that. And we will continue to do. Image recognition. The computer can recognize cat shown in any way, a part of a cat and things like human beings can recognize probably 300 faces, 500 faces. Machine never forgets. Right? So we will exceed human capabilities. And what is that super intelligence? Is it artificial general intelligence? We will have to figure that out later. I will leave it for us to figure this out. But definitely, we are on the pursuit to create intelligence in machines and help us do tasks which are quote unquote intelligent tasks. And we will continue to do this forever. But again, just like we did in the transportation example, we have done it in our own way. Okay, I'll come back to this. So, in the last 50 years or so, 75 years, machine speeds have gone through the roof. We have also did parallel processing and things like that. That's where the GPUs came in, right? But this is what is interesting here. Okay, von Neumann, who came out with this stored program concept, processing in one location, storage in another location, and they can actually, you can act on things in the storage, etc. The von Neumann architecture, again, fundamental to the computing industry. Boolean, George Boole, fundamental. That's where the digital computer came in. Even Turing talked about finite state automata and Turing machine, right? Anything that you can think of as an algorithm can be processed by a Turing machine, etc., etc. All of that are the basis for computer science and basis for our digital computer. So we have taken a digital technology to emulate or simulate and create intelligence on an analog machine. So I'll come back to this. So we have force-fitted something that we found as a solution to now create intelligence, so-called intelligence. Force-fitted. And that's what we human beings do. We find a solution. Whether it's the nicest solution or not, but we'll solve the problem. And we'll destroy the world when we do that by taking all the power that's needed, right? Microsoft went and bought a nuclear power generating station to power this. And somebody else was mentioning today that the next generation of training will take $100 billion or something like that, right? Wow. Now, then the question of fairness, affordability, accessibility, who are we building this technology for? All those questions come. We'll come back to that. Again, history. So this is not new, from expert systems to machine learning, deep learning, generative AI, ChatGPT. It's becoming better and better and better. And again, we are throwing the power of machines. As the machines became more powerful, we could do more with these, and more. So it's brute force. I just want to reinforce that. It's brute force. They're all becoming better at doing things, actually. Speech recognition. The machines have become very good. Translation, predictive reasoning, general knowledge text. So the next picture is actually much better than this. GPT-4o1 is supposed to be 120 IQ, better than human. Human average IQ is 100. So supposed to be better than human intelligence already. Okay, this is some IQ test which is there on the web. I found it on the web actually. So, so somebody can say, machines are becoming better than humans already. So by 2028, probably we will reach artificial general intelligence, probably. But is that what is intelligent from a human perspective? That question I'm not getting into. But it will become better at what it's doing today, right? And even super intelligence is possible. But, then the philosophical questions will come. But it will become much, much better at what it's doing today in many, many tasks. And it will have significant impact. So if you look at transportation, right? Horses are now more in demand. Drivers will not be in demand. Internal combustion engines probably may survive, I don't know. So things will change. Here also things will change. How we use technology, what kind of jobs will be there, all of those things are going to change when there is something fundamental happening here like this, fundamental technology that's going to happen. This is where evolution comes. And this is, so in the last 10 years, my pursuit has been to support research, or my endeavor has been to support research in two dimensions. One is better computing models, because I believe that computing is at crossroads, because we solve problems by throwing the power of machine. So, the amount of power that's required to run a NVIDIA GPU, it's going to consume 20% of the power that the world is going to generate or more, right? That's the path we are going to take. So is there a better way? Is there a better model? And parallelly, because I wanted to understand brain better, I said, can we also look at a social cause, which is aging and aging-related neurological disorders? Why do we age? And what happens when we age? And diseases related to aging, neurodegenerative diseases. No solution yet in the world, and can we find solution? Underneath all this, also, there is a goal of India playing a bigger role in research, in developing technology, in producing IP and solutions. And the reason for this is India represents 20% of the world's population, so any solution, if it doesn't work in India, doesn't represent a global solution. Second, India requires solutions that are affordable. So if it works in India, it will work for the 8 billion people in the world. If it works in the US, it works for the top 10% of the world. It does not work for the rest of the world. The solutions you are developing here is for US. That's it. Maybe for Europe. Beyond that, it doesn't go. So there is a role that India has to play. So two directions, and then I started looking at, why did nature create brain? nature, I believe is the best teacher. So you had living things which passed on knowledge through DNA. Okay, it took 5 generations for the DNA to adapt. Typically, it's 5 generations before the DNA adapts. Survival of the fittest and all that stuff. But at some point, nature decided. Now, you have to understand this. Nature decided that that's not fast enough. So it said, let me create an organ that's learning organ. That's the brain. So in a generation, the brain can learn and adapt, which is what we do. And that learning became faster and faster and faster, but it's still not as fast as machine. Because the machine, ChatGPT, you can imagine, right? 4 versions already out in a span of 2 years. We can't learn fast enough to keep up with the machines, actually. So machines are going to exceed our capabilities even when you look at that, right? So this is 12 million years of evolution. But in the 12 million years of evolution, nature has created something that I believe we are going to take forever to figure out, because the brain itself is changing. 2 pounds, 20 watts of power, 80 billion neurons, and trillions of connections, all sitting in a small space like our head. That's amazing. And how do we replicate that? And what can we learn from that is the question. So I've been supporting research both in the area of computing as well as in the brain sciences. I'll go to now brain sciences, but before that, I just want to leave with you one thought. We may have something disruptive coming from India. I'm hoping that it will come. Now, before that, difference between human and machine intelligence, biological versus technological, carbon-based versus silicon-based, digital versus analog, right? Big difference, digital versus analog, energy efficiency, data efficiency. We can manage with uncertainty, we can manage with limited knowledge. Here we are throwing, we are now artificially creating knowledge because the machine has already learned everything that is there to learn. So we are creating artificially knowledge. Then ability to think on its own, being a social animal, etc. The objective function is very important. AI requires an objective function, and that's where you have hallucination, etc. The other important thing is the accelerating pace of GDP growth. It's very interesting, as technologies emerge, which are disruptive, which change the world, we have seen a jump in the speed at which the world grows. So right now, in the last 100 years, the world has grown 20x. Now in this 100 years, this century, I don't know where we are going to, from $100 trillion, will we hit $1,000 trillion in this century? That's an amazing amount of wealth to be made. We never heard of $3 trillion market cap companies. We are now talking about more and more $3 trillion companies, actually. So this is also very interesting, and this has to be understood. The pace of economic growth also has to be understood, and we have to keep pace with this. This is the last slide, and then I'll switch to brain research, actually, very quickly. Indian Institute of Science has come up with something called Memristor. Memristor is not new, but their version of it just got published in the last 1 month in Nature paper. And what is interesting is that it is perfectly suited for AI. I told you, we repurposed a digital machine to simulate intelligence. A digital machine to simulate intelligence. They have created an analog machine. It consumes 1/10, 1/50th power of a NVIDIA GPU. Performs the same function. Matrix multiplication in one operation, which is what a GPU is. 1/10, 1/20th. And The Nature published this paper because they took a task which was done by a supercomputer and ran it on a notebook computer. You can do intelligence at the edge using this chip. Now, I'm telling now Government of India, we want to develop a semiconductor industry. Don't try catch up, leapfrog. Let's create a new generation of semiconductor technology based on this. Okay? Look it up, Nature paper, and hopefully we will develop it further. Now, I won't go into this. So I am supporting two research initiatives, one at Indian Institute of Science and another at IIT Madras. At Indian Institute of Science, we are doing a longitudinal study of how people age, an urban cohort of 1,000 people, a rural cohort of 10,000 people. We are also doing a Parkinson's cohort of 1,000 people. We are doing intervention studies to look at how people respond to meditation, yoga, nutrition, all of those things. And this will now go on for next 20, 30 years actually. And this will help us, now we are looking at benefits of doing these things actually. We are looking at a biomarker factory for Indian population. Again, low-cost diagnostics. Key is low-cost diagnostics, right? Can we take a drop of blood and actually use it to identify Alzheimer's biomarker or cancer biomarker and things like that? So we are doing this at this point, and again, a drop of blood and all that stuff, so that it's very low cost. We are creating a stem cell platform, which allows you to create stem cells of Indian subjects again. All the stem cell lines available today are Anglo-Saxon Western. That's what is used in India also to study stem cell therapy and things like that. So we are creating an Indian stem cell line. We are creating a data platform for collaboration. All the work that is being done is open data, open science. Because we want to keep the low-cost low and make it available for everybody to query and ask questions. Maybe somebody else will find something from this data rather than Indian Institute of Science scientists. So everything is open data and accessible to everybody. Then the second one is the IIT Madras initiative, which is the Brain Center at IIT Madras. Here what they are attempting to do is to look at a human brain atlas, digital human brain atlas at unprecedented resolution, at 0.5 micron, at the cellular resolution. And they're able to do this again where nobody has attempted. They're doing the full scan of the entire brain together, not sections of it, no parts of it, etc. The entire. So what they do is they get a brain, they slice it into 10. So adult brain goes into 10,000 slices. Okay, at 0.5 micron resolution, gigapixel size images, hundreds of terabytes of data to few petabytes. Each adult brain generates 3 petabytes of data. Now imagine how to store, retrieve it, etc. They have already crossed 70 brains. They are going to actually process 100 brains. They will have the largest number of brain data in the world. And it's done at a cost that's, I feel bad to disclose the cost. Because you are spending billions of dollars. Billions of dollars, literally. Okay? But we are doing it much better than anybody else. Much better than anybody else. Wait for November. The first major paper is going to come out in the Journal of Neuroscience, where they have analyzed how the brain develops in the first trimester. Never done before. Neonatal. Never done before. And it will come in Journal of Neuroscience. Wait for the paper. In that paper, they compare the Allen Brain Institute also. Rest you need to read. But this is unprecedented work. I am really blown away with what they have been able to achieve, what they have been able to do. And if you're visiting Chennai, please visit this center. Of course, they are now becoming a tourist attraction, but please, please visit if possible. 70 brains processed till date. This can only be done at an engineering institute. They have converted the task into an engineering task. Brains come in, it gets stored, preserved, MRI done, sliced without destroying the brain. It's 2D images taken, converted to a digital image, put it back on the computer to get a 3D image. Now they're labeling. This can have benefit to create better MRI machines, surgeons to do operations in the future. Somebody was asking me about brain implants. All of these things will become better at doing this. The impact of this will be felt in multiple fields around the world. Already, so many different laboratories are working with them already, around the world. Okay, they're coming to IIT Madras to become visiting professors in IIT Madras because they want access to this data. They want access to this capability. They want to understand how they're doing it. Already, people from around the world are coming. So UC Irvine, UC San Francisco, University of California, Los Angeles, all of these people are coming and working with the people there. I will not go, time is up. I have an ask, and MR graciously allowed me to ask this. If you can fund the Center for Brain Research at IISc, great work. Fund the center at IIT Madras, but more importantly, fund collaborations with these centers. If you find somebody working in the area of brain sciences in anywhere here, okay, please ask them to collaborate with these centers in IIT Madras. The reason is, by collaborating, we will make progress much faster. And why every multinational corporation today is doing R&D in India? Why many startups are doing R&D in India or development in India? It's much cheaper to do that, and talent is available. Same thing happens for research. If you philanthropically support research in the US, and many of you do, if you spend $5 here, spend $1 in India, we will double the research output. And that $1 in India, we will spend. So your $5 plus 0 from India, we can double the research output. Please talk to the philanthropists who are here in the US. If they are not spending money in India, the entire world is losing out. And we will have a better solution in the future. So every $5 spent, spend $1 in India and double the outcomes. Okay? Thank you very much. Sorry for exceeding the time.
Amazing, Kris. So hang on, there might be a couple of questions. I visited the Brain Center in IIT Madras. It's incredible to see how they slice a brain into 10,000 slices. You can't be queasy when you go into that space. You actually see them slicing it like salami, except they're very thin.
Very thin. Even that technology to slice it without destroying tissue, because even one cell is destroyed means gone.
And Kris is doing incredible work there with that. I have one question, and then maybe you can open it up for a couple more. So Elon Musk is doing this company called Neuralink, where he's implanting something in the brain. What are your thoughts about that type of technology?
So the medical use of that is, I think, important to understand, because part of the interventions that you can do is to go in and change the circuitry of the brain. But for that, you need to understand how the circuitry of the brain is built, and that's why the atlas is very important. Having said that, there is some work going on in the Indian Institute of Science around the same lines. Now, I talked about leapfrogging. I'm putting these two groups together. The analog device that we are creating, which is going to take 1/10 the power of digital circuitry, or maybe even lower, and it can be embedded very safely into the brain, and it's already analog with the human brain interface, HBI, that they're creating. And they're creating for things like epilepsy and things like that, because that's the medical intervention that's possible. So we are trying to combine this. So I'm optimistic about it. Brain is extremely complex, and it will take a lot of effort to figure this out. But having said that, this phone is a second brain. Already, we are offloading a lot of tasks to the brain, to this phone. Already, we are offloading wearable devices, offloading tasks. So we are already doing all these things, and implanting is an extreme end step for doing that. But we are doing this already. It's human plus machine, and that's always been the history of how we have evolved.
Fantastic. Any questions for Kris? Yeah, I see several. So can we get a mic over? Oh, we got one back there, and then we'll come out here.
Hi, Kris. I'm Sandesh Mauli of Ignite BC. First of all, if you look at the Y2K, it's where Infosys saved the day, and it's amazing how you continue to sort of bring change through technology. So the question I have is, in regards to healthcare research and AI and the resources that you have at a lower cost, what else would you need to become kind of a known global center for innovation, like countries in Europe, Israel, the US? How do you think about that?
So first thing, we should not be following anybody. Okay? The way US healthcare system has developed should not be the model that India uses. First, we have to digitize the entire system upfront. That lowers the cost, just like we did in UPI, right? We have to look at electronic health records. We have to look at interconnecting all the hospitals and all the insurance companies, payers, providers, etc. Everything has to be digital, and all transactions have to be digital, right? And the way we are developing this is what is called a digital public infrastructure and digital public goods. Philanthropy and government will build this infrastructure. No private company will build this infrastructure. On top of that, private innovation. So hopeful that we can influence how the development happens, and then research resides on top of this, right? That's the reason why I strongly believe that India has to play its role in R&D. It will lower the cost of the solution. Can you think about immunotherapy, one course costing $600,000? Nobody in the US can afford it without insurance. Nobody in India can afford it with or without insurance, because the insurance also is not affordable. So we have to find different solutions. So there are initiatives in creating a common data bank of sequences of, so just announced, cancer bank has been created, DNA bank has been created now of Indian subjects. So and it's all public resources. It's not owned by any one private company. So that people can do research on top of that. So we have a long way to go, but the path we are going to take, hopefully, will be different.
Question up here, Pradeep.
Kris, thank you very much. It's pretty awesome. And I think you can hear it. I'm very curious. India has one of the most depressed populations in the planet, right? The younger depression amongst young people is quite high in India. And there are sleep disorders and also dementia and things like that. And a usual therapy for that is brain stimulation. So I'm very curious whether it's TDCS or TACS or TMS, or do you see a lot of investment and research in brain stimulation as therapies, or is it essentially diagnostic and pharmacological?
See, all of these are happening in India, but and in smaller sizes, okay? It's not enough. But you will find one or two examples of all these things happening in India. and they're also probably not pushing the, the limits or pushing to the edge. They're probably trying to follow. But having said that, I feel the entire world is suffering from mental disorder today, not just India. Okay? Because you started by saying India, right? I feel everywhere this problem is going to happen. And not just India, and we all need to, clearly understand, and that's where I feel that, we need to talk about what are the ways in which we can train our brain to handle stress and train our brain to calm down. So I believe yoga, meditation, nutrition, all of these things are simple things that we can do to manage this before it becomes extreme. Right? Here every week you hear somebody killing using an automatic weapon, right? We don't see that in India yet.
Thank God.
So, Kris.
Last question.
Yeah. Fantastic work. I'm not smart enough to ask question on the brain, so I'm going to ask a question because of great inspiration, right? So because we have a lot of founders and entrepreneurs here. The Infosys founder culture is different. See what you're doing after you did phenomenal, and what Nandan is doing, and what like NRN is doing, right? What is that culturally that you founders did differently that is making you get back into the society that we should learn?
I think we need one more day.
Yeah. Just quickly.
Quickly, it's empathy is important. We have been extremely lucky, okay? I won't be standing here probably if something had not fallen in place. So it's not, I don't think, I think even Steve Jobs put it brilliantly, his last email, you should go and, browse the net for that. And he said, there are so many things that I didn't do, but I benefited from that. There are so, I'm standing here because of so many things falling in place, so many people helping me. And I owe to all those people. My school fees was 12 rupees. I did my master's at IIT. I got a scholarship of 400 rupees per month. So, I feel obliged to, and I strongly believe that we need to, the 20th century model of development, and I'm sorry if I offend anybody in this room, has destroyed the world or brought us to extinction. India is set to develop, okay, $2,500 per capita. We are aiming to get to 20,000 per capita. Do we take which path? If we take the path that US has taken, the world will be destroyed. Right? 5% of Indians own cars. Even 20% owning cars, pollution will be too much, and the entire road infrastructure will be a parking lot. We have to come up with new ways of new development. You can't say India should not develop. So India has to actually find an intelligent way to develop. And I feel if you are of Indian origin, you have some soft corner for India, please think about that. Okay, the model for development for India. That will be the model for the future. And can we invent that model? And in a small way, I'm trying to do my own things in that way, new models for computing, right? This hunger for GPUs. Yes, you will find a solution, but at what cost? Right? And who will benefit from that? Because it's all not going to be affordable. $100 million to train a model, 5 companies will do it in the world. Maybe they will also fall out from doing it. Where is this going to go? Thank you very much.
Thank you so much,
Aman.
Kris. Thank you.